Why did the Giants trade Saquon Barkley? All right, everybody. Welcome to NFL Picks and Predictions for Week 8. So we are getting close to the halfway point in the season. Definitely getting interesting, and at least I'm getting much better ideas of how teams are probably going to play the rest of the season. And if you've noticed, the last couple of weeks, I've gotten the majority of the picks right. Like last week, I was 12 for 15. Yeah, I believe I was only wrong about 3 games, so hopefully I can keep that winning streak up. Hopefully I can help you win some more money. But it's definitely getting interesting, and in fact, I might throw out a separate video just guessing who I feel has a good chance of making the playoffs, who definitely is going, who definitely is not going, and who is still possible wild cards, and of course there are those that are in the hunt. But in the meantime, let's get started with my Week 8 picks. So first game of the week, Thursday Night Football, we have Minnesota Vikings and Los Angeles Rams. Now, the reason the betting odds are pretty close, I believe, is because Cooper Kupp is expected to return on the Thursday night game, which will definitely make it more interesting. Now, I know that he will be coming off from having an injury, so he probably will not be bringing his A game, but he definitely will be helping out the Rams a great deal. He is one of their star players. Minnesota is a slight favorite to win. Point spread for them is -3, so I believe with Minnesota, TJ Hawkinson is probably not going to be in the game. He is questionable as of now, so it could definitely be a close game. I know Minnesota had their first loss of the season. Will that necessarily set up a losing streak for them? Are they starting to kind of dip down? I feel like if Sam Darnold and Justin Jefferson are doing good and they bring their A game to the field tonight, I feel like they can hold off the Rams at SoFi. And so I feel like Minnesota is getting back on their winning streak. I'm going to say that Minnesota takes the W for the Thursday night football game. And then moving on to Sunday's games, we have New York Jets and New England Patriots. That division rivalry that's really at this point kind of a race to show who is not a total sucky team. And at this point, the Jets are still doing pretty bad. Even though they've got Aaron Rodgers, they just can't seem to cut it. It's possible that Alan Lazard could be dealing with an injury as well. That's definitely going to only hurt the Jets. Patriots, though, they really don't have much going for them. I almost feel like the Patriots are just trying to lose at this point, so they'll get some of the early draft picks for the following season, which that isn't a horrible strategy. Obviously, if you're at 1-6, your season is over. Jets, their season is practically over, being at 2-5, but if they do win this game, it's like not entirely over, but it'll be mostly over. I believe it was Week 6 game when Buffalo played New York. That was pretty much a bellwether game, I feel, as an indicator of whoever won that division rivalry would probably take the AFC East. And it was close, but Buffalo beat them. After the Jets lost that game, their probability of winning the AFC East dropped dramatically. For Buffalo, it would have dropped if they had lost, but they could have made up the ground a lot easier. So just between the Jets still struggling, Patriots playing like garbage, Miami's struggling too much, the AFC East is Buffalo's to lose. And unless something happens like to Josh Allen, I think that it's a shoo-in that they will make it to the playoffs. But as far as it goes for this game, the Jets are a decent favorite. Point spread for them is -7. So I would think that it's not a crazy bet to go point spread on the Patriots for this game, with it being +7, because this game, I think it will be closer than the last time the Jets and Patriots played each other. I know Patriots will have home field advantage. That's not saying a lot, but I do think that it won't be a 3-touchdown difference. So it could very well come down to one score, or it may not. Patriots could still just get blown out. If you do want to take point spread on the Patriots, that's not a horrible bet. But I think at the end of the day, the New York Jets are going to take the W. So, moving on, we've got the Philadelphia Eagles and Cincinnati Bengals. This will be an interesting game because both these teams, while they're not doing horrible, they are not quite having the season a lot of people thought before it started. They thought Philadelphia would be blowing up the scoreboard, beating teams like crazy. That's not necessarily happening. A lot of their games lately have been like one-score games. Except when they played the Giants. Cincinnati's probably a slight favorite because they have home field advantage. I honestly think that they still are going to struggle. I know I said Cleveland would beat them last week, and that was one of the few games I was wrong about. But you look at the final score for that game, it was like 21-14. Cleveland did keep it competitive, but Cincinnati didn't necessarily blow up the scoreboard like they did in the 2021 season where they went on to win the Super Bowl. Cincinnati is a slight favorite. Point spread for them is -2.5. I do not think Cincinnati will be able to hold off Philadelphia. I think the Eagles, while they may not come off super strong, they're definitely going to play better than Cleveland did last week. So I think Philadelphia is going to take this game. I would easily go moneyline on Philadelphia with those underdog odds. I say that the Eagles easily take the W on this game. So then we've got Green Bay Packers and Jacksonville Jaguars. The odds are kind of close, a little bit closer than I thought. Green Bay is a slight favorite to win. Point spread for them is -3.5. For that reason, I would not take point spread on this game. I feel like as long as Jordan Love is in good shape, and he kind of shows up, even if it was as good as he did last week with Houston, which I know he probably was not playing at his best, Green Bay was still able to hold off Houston, who has been a lot more competitive this season than Jacksonville. I don't know if Green Bay will blow up the scoreboard, but at the end of the day, I'm going to say that Green Bay takes the W and moves up to 6-2, which I do feel that the AFC North is still the best division in the NFL. Although I feel like Detroit might have more of an advantage than Minnesota to win at this point, I still feel like both those have a really good chance of going to the playoffs. If Green Bay can keep up the good work, they've got a fighting chance. Even Chicago has that chance, depending on if a lot of the other NFC teams that do not win the divisions don't play well enough, which I'll get more into that as we get into some of the other games. But moving on, we've got Tennessee Titans and Detroit Lions. Detroit is a pretty huge favorite for this game. Point spread for them is -11. So they'll have to win by more than a touchdown and a field goal. This may not be a horrible game to maybe do point spread on Tennessee, just in case Detroit struggles, but I have seen Detroit pull off plenty of double-digit wins as of recent. They started off slow, but they're doing a lot better. I know it was a very close game against Minnesota last week, but guess what? Tennessee is playing like garbage. Minnesota is playing really good this season. But guess what? Tennessee's playing a lot worse than Minnesota. They are not having a great season, and I would just about say that their playoff chances are pretty much gone. And if they lose this game, I'd say it's over. It's kind of like what they say. If you go to like 1-6, say goodbye. Your season's done for. But you go to they go to 1-6 like the Patriots, they're done for. I feel like if Jared Goff is playing just as good as he has been, that they will keep up that winning streak. They may or may not cover the spread. They do have that opportunity, which is why maybe I'd do a slight bet of point spread on Tennessee, just because the money line for Detroit is like -700. So you'd have to bet like $70 just to win $10. And at the end of the day, even though I think that they can easily win the game, I almost feel like those bets aren't entirely worth it, because what if somehow there is an upset? Because it does happen. You lost $70. Or maybe you bet $70, but just to win $10, is that really worth the risk? Maybe for you, but not for me. But at the end of the day, Detroit will win this game, hands down. Moving on, we've got Atlanta Falcons and Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So man, I feel really sorry for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at this point. I do like Tampa. I was a huge Brady fan. I do like Baker Mayfield. I was kind of upset when I noticed both Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, two of their star players, got hurt pretty bad. So Mike Evans does not look like he's in good shape to play this game. Chris Godwin could be out the rest of the season. I found out that he is going to have ankle surgery. While Tampa might be able to hold off some of the bad teams, they could have a very slight chance of getting a wild card and sneaking into the playoffs, kind of like they did the last 2 seasons. But that was more because the rest of the division was doing pretty bad. What was their record last season? 9-8? And then before that it was 8-9? But they got into the playoffs for winning the division. They cannot get in with that kind of record if they're just a wild card. And at this point, Carolina's a mess right now, and the Saints are not doing too hot either. I'd say, at this point, the NFC South is Atlanta's to lose. All they have to do is not mess up. If Kirk Cousins can stay healthy and keep pulling off his magic, I think they've got it. And as for this game, Atlanta is a slight favorite. Point spread for them is -2.5. So with that being said, if both Mike Evans and Chris Godwin are out for Tampa, unfortunately, they don't stand a fighting chance against Atlanta. I know they lost last week to Seattle, but, maybe Seattle's stepping up. Maybe they're kind of out of the hole. They're back on a winning streak. And I'll get more into that later in this video. But as far as it goes for this game, I'm easily going with Atlanta on this game. I think it could actually be more than a 1-score game, but it may not. So with that being said, there's that -2.5. So as long as they win by a field goal, they cover the spread. So I'm definitely go point spread on Atlanta for this game. Kirk Cousins is going to have an easier win than the betting odds suggest. And I feel like Atlanta will go to 5-3 on Sunday. So then we got Arizona Cardinals and Miami Dolphins. This game, Miami is actually a slight favorite. Point spread for them is -3.5. To be honest, I'm kind of surprised that Miami is the favorite because Kyler Murray will be able to play for Arizona. I know it was kind of a shot in the dark for me to guess Arizona to beat the Los Angeles Chargers for last week on the Monday Night Football game, but they did it. I did have a decent win on that game on the bet. For this game, Miami is actually a slight favorite. Point spread for them is -3.5. It does look like there's a possibility that Tua can return to Miami on Sunday. However, although he's in practice, that is no guarantee. And even if he does return to the game, I feel like just coming back from being out all these weeks, he's going to be struggling some. He definitely will not bring his A game to the field. Although Miami could kind of pull out some tricks, maybe they could pull out some surprises. Arizona, I feel like it's not quite over for them this season, especially seeing how bad San Francisco is doing right now, and I know it's not all their fault. They've got a bunch of injuries. If San Francisco's team is hurt with all the injuries, Arizona still has a fighting chance of at least being a wild card in the playoffs. Now, if they win this game, those chances are jumping up dramatically. For this game, I can't really say. It's hard to tell. I mean, if Tua's playing, they do have a chance, but I don't think it's necessarily going to help them pull off the win. So I would be pretty conservative betting on this game. I'm going to go with Arizona on this one. I think that probably they will not blow up the scoreboard. If Tua's there, Miami can keep it competitive, but I still think Arizona pulls off the W. I think they will go to 4-4 on Sunday. So then we've got Baltimore Ravens and Cleveland Browns. So Baltimore is a pretty comfortable favorite. Point spread for them is -8, just like Lamar Jackson's number, right? So Baltimore has been keeping up their A game. They go from losing the first 2 games to just crushing it the following 5 weeks. I know that they did struggle against Cincinnati, but they still managed to pull off the win after being behind 10 points in the 4th quarter. That was definitely an exciting game, especially with it going to overtime. And for this game, Baltimore will have no problem holding off Cleveland. The point spread being -8 means, hey, they got to win by more than a touchdown. But the fact that Baltimore's offense has been playing a lot better tells me that there is a very good chance they could cover the spread. I would not put a lot of chips towards it. If you want to go moneyline for Baltimore, great. Put more chips on it. It's -425, so use your best judgment. Don't bet too much just because of the low favorite odds. I'm easily going with Baltimore on this game. Baltimore, hands down, will take the W. So then we've got Indianapolis Colts and Houston Texans. This game will be a fun division rivalry because I've mentioned in previous videos, I do feel like Houston is being overestimated despite the fact that they are playing good. I still think their end result this season will not be as good as a lot of people expected out of them. I feel like they still do have the best chance of winning the AFC South, which I do feel the AFC South is Houston's to lose at this point. Even though Tennessee and Jacksonville are pretty much done for this season, Indianapolis holds a decent chance of making it to the playoffs, especially now that they have a winning record of 4-3. And if they win this game, those chances are jumping up dramatically. Not just for them to go to the playoffs, but for them to actually knock off Houston to win the AFC South, which I said Indianapolis is their only competition, and I know with Joe Flacco, they have seemed to be playing better. They have also been struggling some as well. I know that last week they did kind of struggle against Miami. It was a one-score game. They still pulled off the win, but Houston has been dealing with similar situations. You notice a lot of the games this season, they've been one-score games from Houston. Granted, some of these were from more competitive teams, but just the fact that both these teams haven't really blown up the scoreboard against a lot of their opponents tells me it could definitely go either way. Houston is the favorite for this game. Point spread for them is -5. I don't know if it would necessarily be a safe bet to go point spread. Houston could win by a field goal, as they have in some of their recent games. They'd have to win by at least 2 field goals to cover the point spread. Just for that, I would not go point spread for Houston on this game. If Joe Flacco's coming out bringing his A game, Houston might actually get knocked off. I know that they struggled against Green Bay, and I don't know if they're necessarily going on a losing streak, but what I do know is Indianapolis, they are struggling, but I think they're slightly getting better. Not as much as Baltimore, jumped up, but they are slightly going in the upward direction for the season. I'm going to go far enough to say that I think Indianapolis might actually be able to hold off Houston for this game. I think it will be a one-score game at the end. It will be competitive, definitely will be a really good game to watch. Indianapolis' chances of winning the AFC South are right here. If they win, they're jumping up to here. But if they lose, they're jumping down there. So this is a very serious game for Indianapolis on Sunday. I am going with Indianapolis on this game. I think that they will pull off the win, and also they've got those underdog odds, so maybe not put a lot of chips on them, but you put a medium amount of chips, and with those underdog odds, you'll get a pretty good payout. If they win, of course. So moving on to the afternoon games, we've got New Orleans Saints and Los Angeles Chargers. Now, the Los Angeles Chargers, pretty good favorite. Point spread for them is -7. Now, the Chargers, even though they'll probably have Justin Herbert, he'll probably be playing fine, I've noticed that they have been struggling too. How even games that they win, they tend to only win by 1 score. While I feel Arizona and Denver are currently more competitive than New Orleans, I still think that they have a decent shot at winning this game, but I just don't know if they'll have an easy chance beating New Orleans. Problem with the Saints is that a lot of their best players have been out or are experiencing injuries. Derek Carr, Taysom Hill, Chris Olave, I don't know if that's how you say his last name, and Alvin Kamara. Some of them might be able to return, definitely not Derek Carr, but even with their backup quarterback, the Saints are still going to struggle. They've got a lot that they have to work out, and unfortunately, they might be able to get some of their players back in and start playing better, but I kind of think it's over for the Saints this season. As I mentioned previously, the NFC South is Atlanta's to lose at this point. Now, can they still beat the Chargers? They maybe have an okay chance, but at the end of the day, I still think it will be close, but the Los Angeles Chargers can hold them off, so I'm going with Los Angeles on this game. I would not bet point spread on them. I would bet money line, but not bet a whole lot, even though they've got those low favorite odds. Don't bet too crazy on this game. So then we've got Buffalo Bills and Seattle Seahawks. This game will definitely be an interesting one to watch because Seattle beat Atlanta last week, which I was actually wrong about. I thought Atlanta could hold them off, but it looks like Seattle's getting off their losing streak. They're going to start winning again. So it does look like Seattle is definitely starting to play better. Now, as far as it goes with Buffalo, they have been kind of playing better too. They did start off struggling against Tennessee, but then started blowing up the scoreboard, getting a bunch of touchdowns. Can they do that this game? Maybe, maybe not. I would not rely on them to score a whole bunch of points. And as far as it goes with the game, Buffalo is a slight favorite. Point spread for them is -3. However, this game could definitely go either way. And it will definitely tell us if Seattle just happened to have a good game last week, or if they win. It kind of shows, okay, Seattle's playing better, and maybe Buffalo is kind of wobbly. Although, they're still doing pretty good. They're at 5-2 this season. If they lose this game, while their chances of winning the AFC East are still very good, they're probably still going to the playoffs, but as far as being one of those top-tier teams for the season, they lose this game, they're not necessarily in the shape that they would want to be in going into the playoffs. If they win the game, they're definitely looking better for the playoffs. If Seattle wins this game, though, it will definitely boost their odds to win the NFC West. And honestly, I feel like even if Cooper Kupp returns, it's over for the Los Angeles Rams. And then San Francisco, just with all the injuries or how hard their team's been hit this season, I don't think that they can win the NFC West. They might be able to squeak into the playoffs as a wild card. If Seattle wins this game, the NFC West is theirs to lose. And as far as it goes with this game as well, who do I think's going to win? It could definitely be competitive, or it could turn out last week. Seattle could actually surprise a lot of people, like they did with Atlanta. I do think Buffalo will kind of struggle. While they may not get trampled like they did with Baltimore on that Sunday night game earlier this season, they will not be able to hold off Seattle. I do think it'll be close, but I think at the end of the day, Seattle takes the W. I'm going with Seattle on this game. So then we've got Chicago Bears and Washington Commanders. This game will be an interesting one to watch because I've brought up Green Bay and Chicago pulling off wins this week. That could definitely boost the chances of every team in the AFC North possibly going to the playoffs. Everyone in AFC North is doing good at this point. Just to keep their playoff chances in decent shape, Chicago definitely needs this game to win. Washington definitely could use this game too, just because of the fact that Jaden Daniels got hurt last game. Now, Marcus Mariota still did a pretty good job holding off Carolina, but that was Carolina. Chicago's been a lot more competitive this season, so Mariota stands a good chance of holding off Chicago, and this game could definitely go either way, but it will definitely help Washington, just the fact that they can hold off and win a game without Jaden Daniels. But it does look like at this point, Jaden Daniels has not really been practicing much. I don't think he is going to return this game. I do have to make a pick with or without Jaden Daniels, and Chicago is a slight favorite. Point spread for them is -3. Chicago has been doing pretty good offensively. They have been putting a lot of points on the scoreboard, but then again, who have they played the last couple of weeks? Carolina and Jacksonville. So playing Washington, regardless of their quarterback, will be more competitive for Chicago. But I do feel at the end of the day, with or without Jaden Daniels, it will be close. But I'm going to go with Chicago on this one. I think they can pull off the win. And I will bet point spread on them too, just with it being -3. But I think Chicago will improve their record to 5-2 on Sunday. So then we've got Carolina Panthers and Denver Broncos. So first of all, I just want to say that I was kind of shocked when I heard about Andy Dalton being in a car accident. Apparently, I think he got hurt some, but I think he's going to be okay. Whether or not he'll return in the season, that remains questionable. Carolina has Bryce Young as their starting quarterback, and just with the way Denver's playing, I think Bo Nix is going to come out. They're going to trample Carolina like a lot of the other teams have. Denver is a good favorite for this game. Point spread for them is -10, so they could very well cover the spread, just seeing how some of the other teams as of recent weeks have easily had 2 or 3 score games against Carolina. Denver could very well pull that off. They got to win by more than a touchdown and a field goal. I could definitely see that happening. If Bo Nix is bringing his A game to the field, that could very well happen. Regardless of whether or not Denver covers the spread, I feel like this game's a no-brainer. I'm easily going with Denver on this game. I think they will improve their record to 5-3, and while they definitely will not win the AFC West, that will keep their playoff chances alive to be a wild card. So that'll definitely be something interesting to watch. And I would bet point spread on Denver for this game, but do not put in a lot of chips towards it. I wouldn't even say put a medium amount of chips towards this game. Please be careful with how much you bet. That's how I would bet, but I'm not going a lot on this game. So then we've got Kansas City Chiefs and Las Vegas Raiders. Now this is one game that I would put a lot of chips towards, and I'm sure you know who I am going to bet on. So Kansas City is a very good favorite. Point spread for them is -10. With the way the Raiders have been struggling this season and the fact that they traded Devontae Adams, looks like Aiden O'Connell is going to be out for a while. Gardner Minshew, I believe, will be their starting quarterback for the game. He's going to struggle. Las Vegas is going to have so much trouble trying to get the ball downfield. Honestly, I will say that even though Kansas City started the season out with a lot of one-score wins, they have been doing better as of recent. The last 2 games were like 2-score wins. So I think they will have an easy time holding off the Raiders. Now, as far as it goes with covering the point spread, I could very well see it happening. I've seen them do it in the past plenty of times. But just because of the fact that Kansas City cannot always be relied on to cover the spread, I would still kind of bet money line. And I would put a lot of chips towards them. I know it's -500, so you want to bet $100 on this game to win $20. I know it's a risk, but I think it's worth it. Of course, only bet what you can afford to lose, so please bet wisely. If you want to, go hard on money line, I get it. You got those low underdog odds, that's what I'm doing. But at the end of the day, yes, I'm easily going to go with Kansas City on this game. They will keep their perfect streak alive for the season. So then on the Sunday night game, we've got Dallas Cowboys and San Francisco 49ers. So San Francisco is currently a slight favorite. Point spread for them is -4. Now, after seeing how much they struggled against Kansas City, I know Dallas hasn't been as competitive, but San Francisco has still struggled, even with teams like Arizona. They might be doing okay in the first half, but then games like when they played the Rams and then they played the Cardinals, they kind of got sneaked up on towards the end and still lost. Now, this game could very well go the same way. I don't think that San Francisco can knock Dallas out of the park like Detroit did a couple of weeks ago. A lot of the injuries that San Francisco's dealing with is definitely going to cost them the rest of the season. It definitely lowers their chances of winning the game, but just after seeing how much Dallas has been struggling, I'm going to go with San Francisco on this game. I think it will be competitive. They may or may not cover the spread, but I still think that San Francisco can hold off Dallas for this game and keep their playoff chances alive, at least to be a wild card. I really think their chances of winning the NFC West are low, and I think the Rams, it's a done deal. San Francisco, I feel like they're in the same boat as Arizona. They both have to win this week to stay alive. But I feel like right now, Seattle is in the best position to win NFC West, as I've mentioned earlier in the video. If you want to go money line on San Francisco this game, that's not a horrible bet. Don't bet too much, but I'd say you do have to at least bet a medium amount with those favorite odds, just so you kind of get a decent win. So final game of the week on Monday night, we have New York Giants and Pittsburgh Steelers. So Pittsburgh is a comfortable favorite. Point spread for them is -6. And that honestly wouldn't be a horrible bet, in my opinion. Now, I've seen the Giants, they knocked off Seattle that week, so the Giants could very well show up. While Pittsburgh had a pretty good win with Russell Wilson last week. Before that, even though Justin Fields was still playing pretty good and was keeping the Steelers in a pretty good position, a lot of their games, they did struggle, win or lose, and a lot of them were one-score games. So could this game end up the same? It's possible, because if Russell Wilson brings to the field what he brought last week with the New York Jets, it's a done deal. So if you want to put like a medium number of chips on point spread for Pittsburgh for this game, that wouldn't be a horrible bet. Now, I would at most do a medium number of chips for Pittsburgh. The Giants, they could show up, but I just don't think they have what it takes. I don't think they'll be able to hold off Pittsburgh. I know they've been able to have a couple of surprising wins this season, but I just really don't think they'll pull it off on Monday night. I think the Pittsburgh Steelers are getting stronger and will play better with Russell Wilson, so I'm easily going with Pittsburgh to take the W on Monday night. So those are my picks and predictions for NFL Week 8. Leave a comment, let me know what you think, and I will see you in the next video for NFL picks and predictions. I hope you had a great time watching this video. Make sure to drop a like on it, and check out some of the other videos we've got on this channel. And I hope to see you in the near future.